So, do you think that you guys are experiencing that dynamic of the timeline shift we've been talking about?
Yes.
And don't give us the hand. We are incredibly accurate with this dynamic. And the sad part is that it's not over yet.
You did say it would happen between something and the 10th,
Well,
and that's
it
when it
began
happened.
on, actually, fires began on the 7th.
Hmm.
But by the 10th, they had, what shall we say, blown up to catastrophic
Right.
dynamics of energy. And yet, if you look at the dynamic and where it is and the energies of the geography and the energies of the people and their beliefs and their judgments about things and their belief that they could create their own reality in whatever way that they wished without any repercussions, finds out that there is a dynamic of natural law. And this really is, it is a that natural dynamic that occurs in nature, and it would occur in nature if it was not involved in, if it was not located in the middle of a civilization. However, the civilization involved in a whole dynamic of good intent, for it begins with a dynamic of a good intent. It created certain environmental rules and regulations that had absolutely nothing to do with nature, and therefore you found the dynamic of a complete imbalance. And instead of operating within the parameters of natural law, those that were, and you either created it or you allowed it. Most of those people that live out there allowed the dynamic that created the opportunity for this all to happen. And then you throw in a bunch of angry people, a bunch of homeless people. And why would homeless people be angry? Hmm. Why the first houses that burned down were in Malibu and areas like that, where even though there were a lot of middle class people that, in fact, lost their shit, shall we just call it
Hmm.
that? In fact, there were millions and $1 million houses that went up and were very exclusive, and that whole energetic dynamic. And so, what better to change the flow of a dynamic of energy, wokeness, DEI, that whole dynamic of the energy that was being perpetrated through California and New York also, but New York has its own set of difficulties, but they're not that. However, the East Coast tends to be a little more rugged because here in the East Coast you have to live through winter, and in California there's not much of a dynamic of winter, and so you tend to be a little more hardy. Those of you that live in conditions that are not completely conducive to human life, like those of you that live in the desert. Um, you know, you desert rats. Well, you're a certain breed of people. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can handle that energetic dynamic. And so, you understand that you mm, will migrate in a natural sort of way to those pieces of the country of which you have a somewhat of a spiritual heritage. And so, there's certain parts of the world that you have felt very comfortable in, and there have other been parts of the world that you said, shit, get me the hell out of here. So, well, but it's true. It's true. It's true. But then you have to have that dichotomy in your life in order to have a real life, don't you? You have to. You need that reflection. If you've got that dynamic of that reflection in your life, then you've got some excitement. You've got some movement. You've got a dynamic of growth. If you realize that that's what this all is, this is a dynamic of growth. This is a dynamic of movement. And if you can step back and look at the situation that is occurring in your world and has been occurring for the past few months and will absolutely continue through the whole year of 2025, it is everything from secrets revealed to changes and shifts in timelines and dynamics of things happening that are better than expected, and also dynamics that are happening that are clearly reflections of an emotional dynamic. And so if you look at what is happening out in California, it is clearly a dynamic that is reflective of the emotional dynamic. Now, the question ultimately is the emotional dynamic following the influences of the planets and the influences of astrology, or is it the other way around, that astrology is following the dynamic of what is going on within the human condition? Or, in fact, is that just not evidence of the divine movement of all humanity?